Michael Collins in it? Yeah. You move the motion.
Thank you, Ms Concorda. Minister, in various regions of Ireland, aspiring motorists are currently grappling with an unexpected hurdle on their journey towards obtaining a driving licence, seemingly interminable waiting lists for driving tests. The latest data from the Road Safety Authority, RSA, has revealed that an increasing number of learners are facing excruciating delays in booking their tests. This crisis is attributed to a significant shortage of testers, and it paints a dire picture of the national driving test landscape. It's time to shed light on this issue and underscore the urgent need for government's intervention to address these delays and provide much-needed relief to learner drivers. The figures released at the end of August make it abundantly clear that the waiting times for driving tests in Ireland have grown to unprecedented lengths. In fact, the national average waiting time for a driving test now stands at a staggering 30.4 weeks. Meanwhile, but perhaps the most concerning aspect of the driving test crisis is the dramatic surge in the number of eligible learner drivers who are anxiously awaiting an invitation to book their driving tests. Over the past year, this number has increased by a startling 61%, reaching a total, Minister, of a staggering 71,554 individuals, up from 44,545 in October 2022. The root of this crisis can be traced back to the unfulfilled government commitments. In April of this year, promises were made to recruit an additional 75 driver testers. However, these commitments have yet to be materialised. An objective analysis of the driving test services in Ireland reveals that the service is undoubtedly in turmoil, as waiting times have exceeded 3 times their official targets, despite the RSA's official target underpinned by a service-level agreement of a 10-week waiting period. Learners currently face an average wait of 30 weeks for a test. This chronic delay is particularly detrimental to young people who rely on their licences for daily commuting to work and college. The impact of these driving test delays is even more pronounced in rural areas of Ireland, where public transport options are limited. In these regions, the situation significantly hampers employment opportunities, and access to higher education for young people is not merely an inconvenience, but a significant barrier to progress. The need for immediate government intervention is paramount. Learner drivers and their families deserve a clear acknowledgement from the government that it has a fundamental responsibility to provide the necessary resources to meet the surging demand for public services. The Minister for Transport should be promptly directed to expedite the recruitment of additional driver testers to alleviate this crisis. Furthermore, a strategic plan must be developed and implemented to ensure that the RSA's official target of a maximum 10-week wait for a driving test is achieved at every testing centre in the country. By the end of 2023, at the latest, public bodies, including the RSA, must be instructed to guarantee that all their services provide the option to pay using cash without incurring any associated penalties. The driving test crisis has reached a breaking point. Action is not merely advisable, but an immediate necessity to relieve the countless learner drivers and their families who are enduring the hardship of this situation. It's time for the government to step up, fulfil its commitments and ensure that learners receive timely and efficient driving tests, ultimately removing the roadblock to their aspirations and opportunities. One particular young man in West Cork is working for the HSE, keeping the heating and the water going in public hospitals. One would think he would be an emergency worker and would be allowed to go through and have a driving test and have his test expedited. But apparently that is not deemed an emergency. I wonder if the heat and the water in the hospitals were closed off, would that be an emergency? Another young man rang yesterday at my office. He has been told he will be offered a job if he can produce a licence in the next few weeks. He hasn't even got an invitation to a test yet. Another young man trying since August to get a test. His father contacted me delighted that his son was so into getting on the road. He doesn't drink or do drugs, and here he's still waiting for an invitation for a driving test. The list goes on and on and on. and on. My office is inundated with people calling me every day of the week, begging me to get driving tests. I had college students from all summer long trying to get their tests so they can get jobs, or so that they can at least go and come from college freely and legally, Minister. The whole situation, and we've been, quite a lot of talking has been going on in this country over the last number of months about so many car accidents. We have 2.2 million vehicles in our travelling in our countries, this country to date, Minister. Far more than we ever had when figures started maybe 15, 20 years ago. And the roads are in appalling conditions. When people heard that this motion was coming before the Dáil during the week in West Cork, I was getting messages, getting phone calls about people wanting me to bring up issues of serious concern, that issues that are causing road accidents, quite a lot of road accidents in West Cork. I suppose one of those, Minister, and you have to look at other issues, when young people get on the road, and they're being blamed quite a lot for a lot of the accidents that go on, which I gravely doubt is their fault. But the cutting of dikes in all local roads, it's astonishing. We've lost at least 4 feet of roadway in rural roadways due to a government's decision on not cutting verges back. It's happening almost everywhere around the world, but in Ireland, in both our local and regional roads, it's not happening. Imagine losing 4 feet of roadway. Imagine trying to be a bus driver, trying to be a truck driver, trying to drive under dim, stressful conditions. Mirrors being broken, costing up to €1,000 because there's trees and branches overgrowing on the road, and the government continues and the state continues to refuse people the very least that they do when they pay their car tax and pay their insurance is to have the roadsides cleared that they can drive and drive safely, Minister. We were told recently, when we put questions to you, Minister, that we were getting 15 new testers in October, which is, you claim to be a good news story, and obviously it would be a good news story. But when we dug deep in my own office, we found out that none of them testers are coming to West Cork. So what have we got against West Cork? Are the people there supposed to wait 7, 8 or 9 months for tests? Well, Minister, you nod. That's the facts. You can't nod against something that is happening. Don't be in denial. For God's sake, come up here and give a bit of honest figures and say, we're going to try and put it right, but don't nod in denial, because I know what's happening. Somebody is applying for a test today, has been told it's May, June or July next year. So you can nod all you like over there. I know what's happening in my own area, and I would like for you to tell me I'm wrong and show where I am wrong. We do talk about accidents on roads, and sadly there's been a loss of life, and the TII made that very clear to TE in transport, that if we don't invest in our roads, there'll be extra deaths in our roads. And that's what has happened. But you are inclined to look at, can we lower speed limits? You look at the In71, the road from, we could say from Ballard to Hobcross to Inishannon. It's astonishing that there hasn't been any money spent on that road. We're talking about since the bypass in Skibbereen 20-something years ago. Yeah, and you look at some areas of the road, and I mentioned that last week outside Spar and Skibbereen. I couldn't name different places. There's holes big enough to bury people inside them. What is wrong? What is wrong with our country that you can't spend on our roads and keep our people protected on our roads? It's astonishing that you're allowing these to go on. And in 71, there's no passing ways, there's no roadside workers, flood water that we see quite a lot the last few days that I saw when I was growing up was always cleared, because the dikes were always cleared, because there was roadside workers. That's no longer in place anymore. So the road, obviously the water is going to stay out onto the roadside. We look at the abandoned Northern and Southern Relief Road and the Bantry Relief Road, all promised to people of West Cork for the past 15, 20 years, and no delivery. As I said, the only delivery in my time was the Relief Road in Skibbereen, which was a huge help. We have a massive issue, of course, when young people can't get their driving test, Minister. They can't turn to the privilege of public transport. Public transport is a no-go area. As I said in the last week inside here, places like Dreenagh, Dunmanway, Clonakilty, Baltimore, Misenhead, I could name the places one after another. This is one public transport service a day, some none. Imagine, no transport service in the whole day. But these young people are expected to find their way to college, find their way to work, and they're unable to do that. And this is your chance, Minister, to wake up here, deliver driving testers to centres all over the country. Don't pick Dublin. Dublin has a public transport service second to none. We need to deliver to the rural areas. And to finish, I was disgusted, because I'm bringing this up for the last 12 months, to think that the Senator Lombard in West Cork said I was scaremongering when it came to driving tests, and to be saying that there wasn't enough testers in West Cork. That'll tell you how far out of touch that senator is. How dare he say they're scaremongering when I have constituents coming to me that's waiting 4, 5 and 6 months for a driving test, and the list is getting longer. So, Minister, now's the time to act. Stop sitting there behind the wheel doing nothing. It's time to work on this.
Deputy Michael Healy.